It makes us stand up a little bit taller and with a little bit more pride, especially if we did feel shame. The weekly starry weather report with G. So there it is. What do you think? September 11th. Yep, there it is. That's it. September 11th. And look, first up, the moon. So the last video I did a slow-mo. I went pretty methodically through the moon cycle for you guys, right? 2.5 days it takes the moon to travel through a sign. The moon being at 14 degrees here in Leo means it's already halfway through Leo energy. So there's only about a day and a half, right? A day and a half about roughly to move, because the moon is a quick mover. It's not slow, And so, yeah, it moves 1 degree every 2 hours. It moves 1 degree every 2 hours. It moves 1 degree. But see, here I caught it at the butt end of being conjunct, the moon conjunct Juno, partnerships, marriage, partnerships, someone I'm going to partner up with, can be a romantic partner for sure because it's in Leo energy. But children and having fun, having a good time, my happy place, joy. How do I play? Leo energy. The moon being here, so we think of like entertainment and comedy, right? And Venus is conjunct this. Venus is here all at the same time. We're all together. There's like Venus and the moon and Juno all at the same time. Now, remember, this is a chart for the next 7 days. It just so happens on this day at this time, we have the moon conjunct all of this. So this would have been the time on here. What is it? Yeah, the time on this chart is 4:02 p.m. Central Time Zone, because that's where I live. That's the time zone I live in. But if you even go back to 3 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 1 o'clock, you still have the moon conjunct. If you still move it 2 hours prior, right? Move backwards 2 hours. The moon will still be conjunct. It's still going to be sitting. If the moon is sitting over here at 11 degrees, let's just kind of go like this and put the moon here at 11 degrees, move it over some. We'll cover up that one that's at 3. If the moon is over here at 11, it's conjunct Venus and Regulus. So there's a lot of things, possibly Hollywood, the writer's strike and all that going on. If it's still going on by now, I only say that because Leo is very entertaining energy. It's also actors and actresses. It's about theater and performances. So it's public figures. We think of politicians. Yeah. Venus is feminine energy. The moon being here is also feminine energy, right? A lot of that going on. So that's just that for that day. And the moon cycle, remember, 2.5 days per sign. So the moon is going to move, right? And we know that when the moon moves, if we give it a 7-day timeline, that it is roughly going to travel all the way. It's going to travel all the way through Virgo and then Libra. Remember, 2.5 days per sign, and then Libra. And then 7 days, it'll be around here. It'll be around, like we'll say 8 degrees. It'll be within the first 10 degrees of Scorpio energy 7 days from now. So next Monday, right? So that's your moon cycle. Remember, the moon is my emotions and my feelings and family. It's my home, like the sticks and the bricks, but it can be your childhood. It can be my soul's history and my ancestry. Think about that, the past. In Leo, I'm only saying this because on this day, there's a concentration. Past lovers, people we've been intimate with, people we had fun with, right? People we were romantically involved with in some way, maybe even games and playing, right? Leo energy. But then the moon's going to move. It goes there 2.5 days, and then it'll be like in Virgo energy, which, look, you got Mercury and the sun. Mercury and the sun are going to be there, right? So it's Virgo season, details, routines, job, the work, my tasks, my projects. Pets can be involved, but can be coworkers and siblings and peers and next door neighbors. Mercury, communications, talking, rethinking, redoing, going over, possibly getting new and different tasks and projects to work on. Virgo's about serving, does it in a practical, tangible way, material and tangible. So it's like, oh, I'll organize this for you. I'll clean up for you, maybe even harvesting and gardening, right? And then the moon, my emotional satisfaction, the moon, how I feel emotionally secure in my family. Remember the moon, a lot of keywords for the moon. And then it will move into Libra, Libra energy. And look, we got Mars there too, right? Libra is the lawyers, the justice system, fair and balanced. Is there equality going on? Right? And then the moon will end up here around within the first decan. So we'll just say like 7-8 degrees, roughly 7 days from now at this time. Okay. So we're going to put the moon over here in Scorpio from 7 days out. All right. So now let's back up a little bit. And there you go. It's a moon cycle. It changes every 2.5 days. So just be aware of that in your life. And then where the Leo and Virgo and Libra energy and even a little bit of Scorpio, wherever those are in your chart, you know what things and what people and what events, what things you're going to kind of feel. You'll be engaging in those activities. They will somehow be important to you. Your emotions, emotional stability, emotional security is the moon. So you might find that you want to watch movies that involve, maybe there's comedy or even drama, like dramatic, like being entertained in some, even sports for sure with Leo energy. And then Virgo, house cleaning, housekeeping, cleaning myself, cleaning the house up, right? Doing laundry, like that's Virgo stuff, but it's just regular mundane tasks and projects, keeping myself busy. And then Libra energy, fair and balanced, beauty, peace, right? Harmony, equality is a big deal with Libra energy. It's a big deal. Can go overboard and be a bit of a control freak, possibly, because it's striving for the ideal. Venus wants perfection and everything and everyone to be beautiful and to just, be harmonious, to behave in a harmonious, beautiful way. The sun in Virgo at 18, we know that it's going to move 1 degree per day. So that's going to put the sun 7 degrees, right? 1 degree a day in 7 days, 7 degrees, 18 and 7. That means the sun will be in Virgo about right here. We got this little doodad. This is Vulcan energy. We got this here at 25 degrees in Virgo. Okay. Again, wherever the sun is in your chart, it's lighting that area up. That area somehow has a spotlight on it. I'll give you an example. You might be in your house and you're like, okay, you've just been doing the regular, the old, just whatever you've been doing. Like you've been almost like an autopilot. And then all of a sudden you see something and you're like, oh, when did that get there? Who moved that? And everyone's like, nobody moved that. That's been there for like years. But for all of a sudden, that detail, that thing, in that location, or even the health of that thing, like, oh, is it broken? Is it dirty? All of a sudden that catches your eye and you're like, oh, well, I like it there. Or, oh, I don't like it there. Right. Or, oh, that needs cleaning up. Or, oh, maybe if we turn it this way, like a detail, something in the minutia catches your eye, because Virgo is all about striving for that minutia. Remember, it's the troubleshooter of the zodiac. So looking at something and thinking, how can I make it better? Oh, well, if we put it over here, right? If we adjust this or if we clean this or whatever, because it loves to connect the dots to make something more functional. That's a great quality of Virgo. Functional tools, right? So the sun being there the sun says we're thinking about these things. We possibly our own health, the things that we eat, because it's an earth sign, using common sense things like, yeah, if I'm trying to lose weight, okay, maybe I should lay off the French fries, right? Maybe I should cut out some sugar, like just some common sense stuff, right? That would be Virgo. Holistic Virgo. Maybe I'll start walking. Maybe I'll do some yoga, right? I don't even have to spend a lot of money for those things, right? These are things that are just like, they're practical, they're logical, they're not fancy, okay? But in the end, they add up to a lot. They can be very big things, okay? That's Virgo. That's what I love about the Virgo energy. So the sun's focusing on that. And then this is also pets, by the way, and the health of my pets too, possibly, okay? So that's Virgo energy, and the sun will be there. So in 7 days' time, we're going to place the sun, we're going to just draw it in right there. All right. Sun is our energy. We see Mercury right there. So let's just stay with Mercury in the sign of Virgo retrograding, right? She's retrograding, and that's normal. And we know that she's almost close to the point of where her retrograde ends. She goes back to like 8 degrees. 8 degrees is where her retrograde will actually end. She'll stand still and then she'll move forward again. Just remember, when we're talking about retrogrades, we have to wait till that planet gets out of its retrograde zone. Okay. So our thinking and our talking and our communication. All right. So in 7 days' time, we could place Mercury roughly around the same degrees. I'm going to put Mercury in green here, and I'll draw Mercury in, and it's at 8 degrees moving direct, because it's going, when something's going backwards and it's about to slow down because it has to change direction, it's still at the same degree roughly, kind of like Venus. Remember the previous video? Venus stopped at 12 degrees and went direct. Look at Venus here. This is a whole week later. And look where Venus is. It's a whole week later, and she's only moved a degree. Do you see that? She's at 1320. So Venus is now moving direct. She began a week ago. She stopped at 12. She stopped at 12 and started moving forward. And she's only at 1 degrees. She only moved 1 degrees forward. So she's still at 13. She's sitting there, 13 degrees in fiery Leo energy, right? We kind of touched on that because of the conjunction, but she's direct. She's going forward, and she's been going forward for 7 days now already. Mars, we'll touch on Mars real quick. It's important to talk about Mars because people say it's what we're passionate about. It's what we're fired up about, Mars energy. We get fired up with Mars. It's very fiery, but it's in its detriment. And what the hell does that mean? Well, Mars rules Aries, and Aries is the opposite sign. Aries is the opposite sign of Libra. So anytime any planet is in the opposite sign of what it rules, you get it? Mars rules Aries, but it's in the opposite sign of Aries, which is Libra, which means it's in its detriment. It loses its power. So fiery Mars, ready to fight, is a little bit more docile. It's not so get up and go-y. So you may notice this in your own energy, because wherever the planet up in the sky is and whatever sign it's in, it talks to your natal Mars. And that is for all the planets that we have talked about so far. So when the sun is in Virgo, all of a sudden these Virgo things become more important to you, because this sun will talk to your birth sun, regardless of what sign it's in. And you will feel some of the Virgo qualities. You'll see them show up in your life. The details will become more of a thing at the time. The tasks, the projects, cleanliness, routine, and things making sense. You might throw some shit out. You might be like, this doesn't make sense anymore, right? Virgo energy. And the sun being there too. Virgo energy. Jobs. Lots of folks looking for jobs, talking about jobs like, hey, is this job going to work out for me? Is this going to stick? Or am I finally going to get that call? That's a big deal. Remember, no decisions until Mercury gets back to 22 degrees of Virgo after that time. Okay. So Venus and Mercury, they're the siblings, and they talk to each other. And that's important because Mercury and her decision makings are going to be based upon her values. If you got that job, you're right now wondering, is this working out? Do I value this job? Or possibly, am I looking? Have I continued looking? Am I still on the search? Am I still on the hunt? Am I going to continue? Because it's desire energy. And so who I desire and what I desire matters. The thing is, with Venus and Leo, she is more about having a good time. It's very creative energy, though. So if you have a job or a profession or whatever it is that you do that requires you to be creative, maybe a little bit of humor, sense of fun, games, then this is a really good time for that. So there might be some of you who are just like, God, I just feel like I'd rather just sit back and listen to music or just I feel more like I want to be on vacation because when Venus is in Leo, she's a little less serious. She's definitely more about I want to feel like a kid. I just want to play. Focus on children might be a thing too. Romance, mating, dating, relating. That can all be part of this picture. Okay. So Mars, I know I jumped ahead and I didn't talk about where Mars will be in 7 days' time. Well, Mars doesn't move fast. It's a slow planet. So in 1 week's time, Mars is going to go, it's in air. So I think in about a week, if I look at my other chart, yep, we're going to have Mars over here. I can draw Mars in at about 14 degrees. All right. So we'll have Mars over here. Oh, wow. I drew Mars really big at 14. Okay. Mars right here at 14 in Libra, halfway through the sign 7 days later. Mars is not conjunct the South Node yet. All right. When that happens, that will be an event. When Mars and the South Node are conjunct, it will be a big release of some sort. And we'll go into that more in the next video. All right. Because when we get there, we'll get there. This is for the week of. Now that we've looked at all the private planets, we still see over here on the other side of the chart, we see Jupiter is still sitting around 15 degrees. It's retrograded. There's nothing major to talk about here except when any planet is retrograde, their meanings become more pronounced. These two are retrograding in Earth. So to emphasize, what does that mean? Jupiter is my beliefs. It could have to do with religion and spirituality, but it's in Taurus. So beliefs about money, the financial system. And Uranus rules Aquarius, the global systems, Uranus, systems in general. It can be finances, but take a look. What else is it in? Because it's in Taurus and it's money and banking, but what else? It's the earth. So the earth is the food. It's the animals, the planet itself. And Aquarius being there is friends, global friends of the earth or friends. Think of people who can be people in power, Uranus energy, the authority figures who've become friends. We hear of BRICS, BRICS. I think that's how you spell it. I don't have a whole lot of knowledge about it, but I do know that it includes different countries partnering up, right? And it's basically to establish, it's like a supply chain thing, whether it's for food or whatever the hell the needs are. Think of anything that you want to place an order for, right? Think of if you're a company and you need parts for something, right? And so Uranus is technology. It's something new, something different, something that's never been done before. That's Uranus energy. And Jupiter tends to expand upon things. It tends to exaggerate things. Okay. So banking systems and all that good stuff. The Leo stuff is what squares the Taurus stuff. So this Jupiter at 15 and Venus are squaring. When we look at the Venus, let me focus on the top part of this chart. When we look at the moon and the partnership energy and Venus and the square that gives to Jupiter, Jupiter can be the beliefs, but it can also be like judges, people who have some sort of power because it's people can pass judgments, like literally legally pass judgments. So that can be that. So for the states, I can think of the Supreme Court. I'm not knowledgeable enough about other countries and their government to talk about it. So please teach me, put it in the comments. Love to hear about it, what that would be in your world. But also natural resources, Taurus, natural resources. We think of Africa and how that's like this new next great place that countries are like, we're partners, right? Like that's becoming a big deal. And it's interesting because it means you got Venus, because Venus rules Taurus. So you got Venus on this end, Venus and Taurus. So that's Venus and Uranus, Venus with Jupiter. Jupiter expands upon things and Taurus. And then you got Venus over here in Leo. This is square energy. They send stress and tension, and they angle each other. All right. So that's going on for this week because Venus isn't a fast mover. Remember, a week later, and the chart shows, did I draw Venus in or did I move her? A week later, we're going to put Venus up here back in pink. A week later, Venus is near the moon. Venus is going to be like right here at 16 degrees a week later. So I'm penciling her in Leo at 16 degrees. So that is Venus for this full week squaring Jupiter and Taurus. That's a fixed square. So again, that is stress and tension. Okay. And so if anybody has stuff in Scorpio energy down here, that would create T square energy because that's fixed. That would make it more stress and more tension. And that's only if you have something, at like 13, 14, 15 degrees to be part of that Jupiter Venus square. But technically, I swear, lots of books will tell you the same thing. A Venus square is never a bad thing because it's a Venus square. There might be a little bit of stress and tension, but in the end, it's this goal for whether it's camaraderie or to get along or something to be harmonious and beautiful and a balance of some sort. But it's definitely over. It would square and angle shared resources and shared values. So on a global scale, we can probably see how this looks and how we're hearing about it in the news. But what about in your own life, right? So if you've got something Scorpio 13, 14, 15 degrees, then you might be feeling this. You might have a great example of it in your life. Please put it in the comments below and let us know how that T square, even if it's not a T square, but how have you observed it in your life? Give us some examples of what that could mean and how that could play out. Now, on a positive note, all that stuff in red over there in Leo, it is trining all this stuff that we got going on in Aries, which is where I was kind of jumping to earlier. Aries is fiery and all red. And so this is trine energy. And Aries is all about a beginning. Make no mistake. Aries says we're doing something new. It doesn't necessarily mean we've never done it before. It just says we're beginning something. Okay, so Venus is going to be trining Chiron. You see that? Chiron's at 18. It's retrograding. So that's wounds about my body, wounds about my appearance, can be wounds about my ancestry and my culture. Because, well, I won't go into it, but Aries energy and appearance. And if we go back in history and what those deep other lifetime or soul wounds could be, we know the enslavement of peoples. We know gender is a big ass deal right now, especially. But we also know that if we look back in history, there's a whole lot of stuff that was more or less covered up or not talked about and kept hidden. And a lot of that is to make like the gender thing, the how one identifies, to kind of like there's shame involved in that, right? And so the Chiron, I keep hearing the past. Pay attention to the past. There's things here from the past, wounds from the past, whether you are having an issue right now with, or a minority of some sort, or however it is that you identify, if there's that extra pain involved, right? Where we have to literally learn to fight for who we are and our identity in whatever way that is for you, right? Feel brave and courageous in your own skin. This Venus trine can be very beneficial. Venus and the moon and Juno, it's a beautiful trine for this week, right? Juno doesn't move fast. Juno is not super speedy, and Chiron is moving backwards towards Juno. And Venus and the moon at the beginning of that week are a beautiful trine. And then Venus going up in numbers and going to 16 degrees closer to Chiron to end off that week. A beautiful, sweet fire trine. It adds ease. It gives us courage because it's Leo energy, and makes us stand up a little bit taller and with a little bit more pride, especially if we did feel shame. I keep hearing like wounds from the past and shame and the sense to feel good in my skin, to be like, yeah, this is who I am. And to not have to apologize for who I am based on however the hell it is that one identifies. So I hope this helps. You got any questions? Comment below. Let's start a conversation. If there's things here you want to dip into more astrologically wise, let's do it. Thank you for your time. See you in the next video. Bye-bye.